Hey everyone, how are you? I hope you're well, and welcome back to the Pilot's Wife podcast. Today I wanted to take a little trip down memory lane and remember some of the fun times just while we're all sort of stuck in lockdown. I think we're in week 4 and we've got another week to go, and it is getting a bit tough now, and I'm just enjoying some memories of some of the fun times, and I wanted to share one with you. So here's the question. For those of us who don't have a picture-perfect relationship, who don't put our highlights reel on social media and pretend it's all rosy, where can I get some down-to-earth inspiration without any religious barriers? Who can give me real-life encouragement, help me be a better spouse, and tell me how to get an even more enriching relationship without becoming a doormat? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Amy McLaren, and this is the Pilot's Wife podcast. So when people hear that I'm a pilot's wife, I can just see the cogs turning in people's heads. Oh wow, that's so cool. You'll be travelling all over the place. You've been to so many countries. You never work because you're always travelling around with your husband, that sort of thing. And of course, I would do that if I didn't have preschool-aged kids and if they slept properly at night. And so it's kind of a bit disappointing, really, in the sense that I don't have too many fun stories to tell because, well, Josh was a domestic pilot for a while. And we did do some quite cool trips, but it was just around the country. We didn't do anything international because he was just flying domestically. And I did have some fun trips up in the cockpit with him until that got shut down by some crazy people doing crazy things and just changing the rules for everyone. But those are some really cool things, and I got to see, as we've approached into cities and we flew past mountains and saw some really cool views, and that was really cool. When he got the job as an international pilot, his first international job, I was just pregnant with our first daughter, and so he went away for training for quite a long time, and I couldn't go with him, And then as soon as he was ready to start and everything, we had a newborn. And since then, I've kind of been a little bit stuck at home just with different issues and challenges. And so we've done maybe 4 trips together as a family. And Josh and I, maybe I think I've only gone once with him away where we didn't bring the kids. And I wanted to just talk about that one trip because it's such a highlight, such a good time. And when he gets another pilot's job, that'll be I'm going to be doing that more, totally. Now the kids are older, I'll be taking advantage of any trip I can where I can go with him because it really is a cool perk of being the wife of a pilot and getting free accommodation if he's already going somewhere anyway, and then really cheap travel. So anyway, he had a trip to Brisbane, and it was one of those ones where he flew out of Auckland, stayed the night in Brisbane, and then was going to be flying back to Auckland the next day. But then he had to fly off somewhere else, but I could still fly with him both directions. And so that matters because if you are travelling together with the pilot each way, then you can get on the transport, which means getting from the airport to the hotel and also back again the next day. So you do have to, and you want to make sure that you've got a bit of time together at the other end. So this particular overnight was a landing in Brisbane at about, I think it was something like 12 p.m. and maybe it was a little bit later, but it was a long time of afternoon time where we could just hang out and go for a walk and things like that. So it was an early morning for us, but we had Josh's mum came over to look after the kids for the night, and so we left in the morning. And one of the bonuses for me was just getting to the airport, and then Josh had to go off and do his thing, and I just could wait at the airport for the flight to be ready and not have to do anything at all that I didn't want to do. I could just do whatever I wanted. And so we I actually went shopping, and because I had these new pants, and I didn't have really shoes that went with them. I'm like, right, I'm going to go have a look, and I went into a shop, and they had these cool shoes, and they were on sale, and so I bought them, and I was just feeling so good. And then when I got on the plane, I was able to show Josh through the open door, because he was sitting in the cockpit just getting things ready. I was like, look at my shoes. And that was really cool. So because I'm a pilot's wife, he'd told the crew that I was getting on board, and so I got very special treatment when I came onto the plane, and they saw my ticket, and I'm like, oh, you're Josh's wife. And then he covertly goes and grabs a bottle of drinking water, and that was my special gift, being the pilot's wife, special guest on the plane. When I sat in my seat, one of them brought me an iPad to watch movies on, because I didn't have my own, and you don't normally get that. That was a perk as well. The only problem was that I couldn't sign in, and I tried, but it didn't work. So anyway, I didn't get to watch movies, but there was other entertainment on that app that I could access, and one of them was some ebooks, and so I read this really interesting ebook, and it was about addictions and how people form addictions, but it really I took some stuff away from it, because we talk in our courses, in our pre-marriage courses, about when you marry someone, you're marrying their hobbies and the things that they enjoy doing as well. And so if you know some habits and some hobbies that they have before you get married, you're not going to be getting married thinking, right, when we're married, they're not going to do that anymore, that's too expensive, or that takes up too much of their time, and then I'm not going to see them, right? You're marrying them knowing that they enjoy those things, and when they do things that they enjoy, they're the best person they can be, and you want them to be the best person they can be while you're married to them as well. And so we want to give them the time to do the things they enjoy, and that give them peace and satisfaction and all that sort of stuff. And so this book was talking about how we have levels of serotonin and dopamine, and one's the motivator, and then dopamine's the reward. And so our behaviours kind of seek these chemicals through various different behaviours, and some of them are healthy and some of them unhealthy. Some of them are unhealthy ways to attain them, and some of them are good, because we do need to be motivated to get up in the morning, to seek food, and to seek these rewards. And so it was talking about how over time we develop these habits, and when we're kind of in that sort of 18, 19-year-old age group, that's when we really start to our brain develops quite concrete patterns of seeking and obtaining these rewards. And I guess one of the takeaways when I was reading that was that, we do have to take into account the patterns when we marry someone that they've already formed, because they're quite strong. And so not necessarily addictions, but the patterns of behaviour that motivate us. And so one of the examples is that Josh, he was very involved in athletics. He was a great sportsman in the later school years, and then definitely after school. He did a lot of rugby, and he was anything sport-wise that he engaged in, he just was really good at straight away. And I guess different for me, because my parents weren't interested in getting up early on Saturdays to take us to sports, and so we didn't really have the opportunity to join sports teams so much. But I did still do things that were easy for them, like badminton, where you could go any time of the day, and then when I was older, I went to sort of evening like kind of competitions and stuff. But anyway, so Josh is really good at sports, and it's always been a fallback for him. And when he's not able to spend time on exercise and sport activities, he gets quite kind of low. I guess it's one of his values is having time to spend on exercise. And so he's developed that habit definitely over that kind of age group. I mean, it definitely started earlier, but he was already doing that stuff when he was 19 and beyond, and that's definitely formed a habit for him. And so we've had the young kids, and we've gone through a really stressful period of building a house and whatnot, and we got to the end of that, and Josh was like, okay, what am I going to do next? And it's no surprise that it was sport related, and his new challenge is to run a 100 kilometre ultra marathon at the end of this year, and so that takes a lot of time to train for. But for me, I can't be surprised about that, because that's his fallback. That's something, that's a pattern of behaviour for him to find motivation and to find reward through that running. And so I really took away from that book that you're marrying people who've already got those habits formed, because they form, unless we're getting married at really young, like 16, and we have a part to play in those habits from that point on. But often we're marrying somebody who's already got that, and understanding that about our partner is quite useful. So anyway, I had a really nice 3 or 4 hours on the plane to myself, which was awesome. And then we got off the plane. I was able to sit or stand at the cockpit while Josh was just finishing up, and just see the people leaving the plane, just people saying thank you, and you just see the looks on people's faces when they pass the cockpit and they see the pilots. They're just in awe, and I just found that so cool to go along to his job, to his workplace, and see how people reacted to the fact that this guy was a pilot. I mean, we were collecting our bags, and one guy was like, "Oh, so did you see that atoll that we crossed over? And what's that one?" And he was asking all these questions of Josh and about the weather and stuff, and just that respectful kind of awe that people look at Josh with. I never really. I know I'll never tire of seeing that, and it really illustrated to me how he gets it at work, and then he comes home and his kids don't listen, and they and I'm all grumpy because I've been with the kids for 5 days and I've had no time to myself, and he comes back to that from this environment of deep respect and awe, and people just loving the fact that they're on a trip and they're all happy because they're travelling somewhere exciting, and then there's and then talking to a pilot, and wow, this this cool thing. And so that was really cool to see. And then when we left the plane, I could go through the fast track with him, and go through the all the customs and whatnot. And then we got onto the work transport, and just sitting with all the pilots and the crew, and they're all talking about whatever to do with work, and it's really cool to have that insight into what they all talk about on the way to the hotel. And we got to the hotel, and we had the whole afternoon. It was amazing, just and just the change in our behaviour. We were like little teenagers again. We just became like we're on a date and we've just met, kind of. It was so much fun. So we went for a walk, and we went one place for a drink, and then we went to another place for a bite to eat, and then we went to another place for dessert, and then we ended up in the city because it was open late at night, and just walking around there and going shopping, and went into the supermarket and bought some ice cream, and it was we got up to a bit of mischief as well, because there's Lime scooters and these different types of scooters, these electric scooters in the city, and we were in a place trying to get from one place to another, and we were just so tired because we'd walked so much. We thought we'd get a couple of scooters, but of course I'd left my phone at the hotel, because there's like no point me having my hotel on roaming, my phone on roaming for one night. We'll just use Josh's. And so you can't actually hire two scooters on the one app. You have to have a separate phone for each scooter, and I didn't know that. And so we tried to hire two, and it wouldn't let us. And so we ended up just kind of illegally, although without knowing, we both went on the one scooter, and I was on the front. He let me drive, and we almost ran into a few people. And then we were just going along, and someone came up behind us on a scooter, and they said, "Oh, if you get caught with two of you on the scooter, you'll get a fine from the police." And we were like, "Really?" We had no idea, because we saw other people doing it. We saw a dad with his kid on there, and we're like, "Oh, it must be what people do." And then no sooner had he said it, we came around the corner into a square, and it was blocked off, and there was this police car sitting there, and we just went, kind of stopped, got off, pretended, to just decide that we were going to walk from there, and we just both cracked up laughing, and it was just, it was so much fun. Anyway, and then the next morning was great too, because we had a late morning start. Well, with the time difference, it was early for Australia, but for New Zealand, it was quite a it was quite a decent time, and so we were able to get up, have some breakfast, and just take our time to get ready. And the breakfast was a hotel buffet breakfast, which they get a discount for if you bring another person when you're on duty. And so it was a cheap breakfast, but it was awesome. And then we got to go to the airport together, and then I went off and did my own thing again while he got did all the flight planning and stuff. And so I had another 4 hours or so to myself, and had lots to do. So I just did some work and things, and then we got home, and I was straight back into it with the kids, and Josh went off on the rest of his trip away. But my gosh, that trip was just one night, but it made just such a difference to my happiness for the next few months. It just set me up. It was just so cool, and I just thought, the next time that happens, let's do it again. But of course, that kind of overnight then didn't come up again, and so we haven't done it since. But I guess why I'm telling you this is that I actually find memory surfing to be quite a cool tool for, I guess, changing the mood and for learning. And so I'll just talk about those things. And so one of them is that I do memory surfing because, and we both do it together, because it brings back positive feelings, and you can tell that I've had a really good time with this memory. And we are going through some tough times with the COVID-19 lockdown and being stuck at home. I know some others are facing sickness and loss of family members and friends and whatnot, and we're lucky we haven't so far. But I am still stressed. I'm not worried. I did a survey recently. I got requested to do a survey on how New Zealanders are affected by the COVID-19 virus and being stuck at home and stuff. And there were some questions about, do you worry about this? And are you worried then? And how worried are you and stuff? And I was like, no, I'm not worried, because I know we'll be okay. But I'm stressed. And the reason that I'm stressed is, and you might have heard me talk about before, I'm an introvert. We use personality tests in our marriage courses, and so we use one of the most popular ones used in the psychology and psychiatry professions. It's the iSync personality questionnaire, and it's based on the introvert versus extrovert scale and the emotionally stable versus unstable scale, and I think there's a popular kind of understanding about introversion versus extroversion, which is kind of slightly incorrect. So an introvert gets the energy from being alone by having some time to themselves, and the extrovert gets the energy from being around people. And I'm an introvert, so even though I'm very social and I love hanging out with people, I do need, just every now and then, I just need everybody to leave me alone and for me to just have my thoughts to myself. And I'm very stressed at the moment because I'm just not getting that, because everybody's at home all of the time. All my waking moments are just, there's people around, even though we're at home. It's more, I'm not getting my drive time between home and work, and I'm not getting I used to have a day, a few hours where the kids would both go to kindy and I would just have some time at home to get some stuff done. And that's not happening, and so I guess I'm stressed because I'm not able to recharge. I'm just getting depleted of my like that energy store, and I'm not getting recharged, and so that's why I'm stressed. And everybody's got different experiences, but so when I'm doing this memory surfing, it's almost like the memory of that time where I had 4 hours one way and then 4 hours the other way to myself. Just, it almost gives me the energy just remembering it, and so I do that for that. And another thing is, it's kind of like a proxy to actually feeling it and actually experiencing it. It does work. And in another thing that Josh and I both do is we memory surf about our when we first met and in our early dating time. There was one time when we were at a party and we didn't really know anybody, and so we were like, "Oh, so how you doing?" And we kind of reenacted one of the dates we'd had earlier on. We kind of just pretended as if we'd just met, and we were asking these questions like, so what are your hobbies? What do you do? And we're just pretending like we didn't know each other, but that we were flirting with each other, and it was so much fun. And so we we remember. Do you remember that time when we did this? And do you remember that first date? And you popped the boot and just surprised me with that awesome picnic. And these memories are really powerful for us. They just bring back the smiles, and they bring us to a place for a while where things were awesome. And just as a caveat before I go to the other one, which is about how we learn from some memory surfing that we do, watch out, because when you're memory surfing, sometimes negative memories and emotions come up, and almost sometimes without you expecting them. And definitely, for me, when I definitely have negative memories where my body tenses up when I kind of feel those memories coming to the surface. So we can still learn from memories, and that's another bonus of doing this memory surfing. If we relive something, we can relearn what we learnt in that memory. And definitely with marriage, relationships, we forget stuff and then we relearn it, and then we're like, oh, that's right, that's not how I should be doing that anymore because I've learned a better way and stuff. And then we've forgotten it, and then we relearn it. And so just a positive example is remembering that book that I read on that plane. It reminds me of the fact that that Josh is wired that way, and every time he goes for a run, that's how he does things. And so I've married him like that. That's how he is. But negative memories can still be useful if you want to go there, and if you're feeling up to it, because we can still learn from those too. And so when I'm feeling strong enough, I can steel myself to go through memories like that objectively. What happens in our brain with memories is it's a track that I guess it evokes a positive or a negative emotion with it. And I studied neuroscience, so interesting. But definitely the way that brains develop these paths, and the more that you tread down them in the same route, the deeper they get. I find that with some of these negative memories, if I remember them and I tense up and then I feel bad and I feel negative about them, then that becomes deeper and deeper, and it's harder and harder for me to not feel bad if that memory comes up. You know what I mean? And so it can get quite scary to have those memories. And so what I try and do, like with some of the worser ones for me, I might steel myself to go through that memory objectively and kind of train my brain a bit better. So, sometimes I might, there's this one particular one where I just have to go over and over about the fact that I've forgiven myself for making that stupid decision. And when I go through it now, it's not quite as painful, because I'm like, okay, I've done that to myself over and over now, and I've forgiven myself. It's in the past, and I'm going to learn from that next time. If I ever get into a situation like that again, then I know what I would do differently. I know I wouldn't do that thing again. I know that there are other options. I would choose one of those other options. And also, I can teach my kids, those learnings as well, because when I've gotten to that point of learning from it, I can use an example when they are about to or are going through a similar situation, probably when they're a bit older, and I can go, I had this experience once, and this is what I would do differently. And when you've got a story as a teaching tool for your kids, it can be that much more powerful. So I can use that in a powerful way later on. So I hope that helps. I hope that encourages you. Memory surfing can be a fun thing, and it can be a useful thing, and it can just give us a bit of escapism and take us into some more fun, fond memory times. If you are looking for some entertainment, something to just change the mood, remember about your first dates. Remember about the exciting times when you were getting to know each other, and even have fun if you want, reenacting it and doing some role play. It can be quite fun. So I hope that's encouraged you. I really hope you're having a great week. Thanks so much for listening. If you like this podcast, please do subscribe, so then you'll know when the next one comes out. I'm doing one a week, and you'll get the notification. And I really hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you again next time. Ka kite.